Ladies and gentlethems and boys of all ages, it is time for the Doctor Who finale. I'm about to be giving you all my reaction to it, but right now, I haven't watched it. I'm about to watch it. I just wanted to let you all know where I'm at going into it. I am so excited. I'm sitting on the sofa of reasonable comfort. I've got high expectations for what I want the episode to be. I've got some anxiety about where I think the episode might go. There's about a 50-50 split this season of episodes I thought were really cool and episodes that I thought were real stinkers. And it's about a 50-50 split of those episodes that I think could still be salvaged if this episode works. Lucky Day, my score could easily jump on Lucky Day if this episode is good. Wish World could definitely jump if this episode is good. So many of the complaints I've made this season hinge upon this episode. Remember this. This series is not reviews, Jackson. This series is not breakdowns, Jackson. This series is reaction, Jackson. You are getting my raw reactions, and that's what it's been all season long, and it all hinges on this. This could change. Any one of my takes could be changed in an instant by one line of dialogue, or by one well-executed scene, or by one banger of an ending. I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm very hopeful. I know some of you might think that I'm a negative Nelly based off some of the things I've said this season so far, but I really love this show, and there's nothing as exciting as season finale time, except maybe Christmas, but and I'm not a Christian. I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Doctor Who Christmas, so that's what I mean when I say that. But yeah, I am about to start the episode. I will see you guys on the other side with the latest episode of Reaction Jackson.
The next day.
Well, I've watched the episode, and for the astute amongst you may notice that I'm not wearing what I was wearing a second ago. That's because I have been inconsolable, and I couldn't do my recording right after watching the episode. I was a mess, and if I would have recorded a video, it would have just been me blithering, and it wouldn't have been any good. So I decided to wait and until my partner got off work because they were going to watch the episode, and we watched it together, and then I was going to record. And I was a blithering mess again. Even after knowing what was coming and being ready for it, I was still just too upset. And I wasn't ready to do this video. So I slept on it, and I'm back. It's first thing in the morning. I have been off the internet all day. For the last 24 hours, I've not gone on the internet. I've been disconnected, did some dishes. It was great. But now I'm ready to talk about the episode. But because I'm so delayed because of me being upset, I need to start with why I feel so upset. Why it was so hard for me to start making this video, which is that I'm in mourning. I'm in mourning for number 15, for Ncuti's Doctor. I predicted that he was going to die in this episode. I predicted he was going to regenerate in this episode. I even soft predicted that he would regenerate into a woman. I knew this was coming, and I didn't just know this was coming recently because of the story. Production-wise, I knew this was coming because Ncuti's been cast in a play that's got him all wrapped up for the next 6 months. I knew this was happening. I've been preparing myself for it mentally, and I still wasn't ready when it was time for him to go. I wasn't ready. It was so hard for me, and I want you guys to understand why, because I've lost a lot of doctors. I've been watching for years. I've been watching the show for about 15 years now, and I've, seen doctors leave in real time now a few different times, and they're always hard and they're always sad. But Ncudi was so personal to me, and it hit me so much harder than losing Capaldi or losing Smith or losing JODIE. This one really hurt. I know people sometimes don't understand how important representation is. And I know sometimes representation gets a bad rap. as being like some performative thing. And sometimes it is. Sometimes companies are absolutely performing your values so that, you know, you'll buy their product. That happens. But Ncuti meant so much to me. To see a dark-skinned man who was comfortable with his sexuality and his gender and a fluid expression of that gender and sexuality, that was very powerful to me. That was very empowering to me. And there are plenty of characters like that on TV. And you can get plenty of characters like that in movies and books. If you want to go look for them, you can. But seeing your favorite TV protagonist embody that is so special. And I'm already getting upset. And we didn't have long enough. We just didn't. We didn't have long enough. You know, 8 episodes this season, 9 episodes last season. Showed up at the end of a special. 18 episodes. 2 of them are Dr. Lights. 1 of them he's sharing with another doctor. You know, 15 stories of his. And that's barely more than Chris Eccleston. That's barely 2 more episodes really than Chris Eccleston. Taking into account the different run times, it's probably about the same as Christopher Eccleston. I wanted more Ncuti. I miss him already. I miss him. I wanted more. I wasn't ready to let him go. I wasn't. And the regeneration at the end is exciting. I am excited about it, and we are going to talk about it here in a little bit. But it's hard. It's hard to be. It's like when you're a kid and your pet dies and your parents get you a new pet like the same day. You know, it's like, well, good, you filled the hole, and it feels nice to know that that's there. But y'all, my friend just left. You know, I lost my friend. Can I have a second to deal with that? So yeah, I needed a second. Guys. If you look at my posts, that's not a joke. That's real deal. I was in freaking tears after watching this episode, and I was for quite a while after watching it. I am taking losing Ncuti very, very hard. So I just wanted to say here and now, you know, how grateful we all are, and how much we love Ncuti, and we're gonna miss him so much. I promised you guys for the last few weeks, last few reactions, that I was going to do a big retrospective of the season. Now that the season has wrapped and we know that Ncuti is gone, I've changed my mind slightly. We're not going to do a season 2 wrap. We're going to do a Ncuti wrap up. We're going to do a wrap up of everything there is to do with Ncuti, and we're going to look back at his time because I need that. I need a little scrapbook of Ncuti so I can process my grief and move on with the next step. Speaking of which, let's move on from that and start talking about the episode. So there's a hot start. The episode picks back right where the last episode ended, and there's like 3 seconds of reused footage right before the theme song kicks in. So this makes me feel like this is really meant to be seen as a single episode. This is a cinema view thing. They did put this in cinemas in the UK and Ireland, but they didn't do it here in the States, so we got this as 2 episodes. Now, I said last week that a lot of my criticisms of last week's episode could be nullified by this episode if it was a good sequel. I will say, now that I have watched this episode, it is clear to me that this is not a 2-parter in which you can watch one episode and it's a good episode, and you can watch another episode and it's another good episode, and together they tell one story. That's not what this is. It's not a 2-parter. This is one episode cut in the middle. This is a movie. This is a cinema experience. I wish we could have seen it in the States. I wish they would have given us this to see in the States. I would have loved to go see this in the theaters and been in the crowd when we saw JODIE for the first time. Because let me tell you, I freaked the fuck out when JODIE came. I'll talk about it here in a second. But like, I would have loved to see those theater reactions, you know, and I would have loved to watch this in one go. Because I don't think there are some things about Wish World that are addressed. They are fixed. And it does solve the problems that Wish World presents, that I nitpicked Wish World for. But here's the thing, that they don't necessarily make Wish World a better episode, right? Wish World is still a non-functioning episode. It does not work as an episode. It only works as half an episode. Okay. For if you want to compare it to something else, compare it to another episode that is the lead up to a finale that has a classic bad guy introduced in the very last few seconds. Take The Sound of Drums. The Sound of Drums is necessary to understanding, not The Sound of Drums, Utopia. Utopia is necessary for understanding Sound of Drums and its sequel. We need it. It's an important part of the story. It ends with a big cliffhanger where the master is revealed, sure, but that episode's not about the master, right? That gets resolved. And the story that's going on there is complete. It is complete. Like, there is a cliffhanger ending, but the story of Utopia is a complete story that you can watch on its own. And yes, you are excited for the next episode, but that episode you just watched makes sense. It is whole, and I don't know. It has some rewatchability to it. I don't think Wish World has rewatchability unless you do the cinema view of watching them back to back as one complete movie. We'll talk individually about the things that come up that address my issues as they come up. But I just wanted to say this right at the beginning because the cinema view of the hot start is very clear. Like, you are supposed to watch this as a movie. And I got that. All right, moving on. There's the scene where right at the start, the doctor's falling on the broken balcony, and the magical time door opens up to the time hotel. And when it first happened, I thought it looked like the doors from Loki, the TVA doors. That's what it looked like to me. It didn't look like the time hotel, because the time hotel just used regular doors. It just opened one door into a door. You go into a door in the time hotel, walk out of a door in a regular hotel. It didn't have this magic door property. And I guess it's a new feature, or maybe it's because Anita is some level of management. She's got the house key. Okay, cool. But like, it's still, I think it would have been better if they would have at least kept it somewhat the same. Like some sort of visual language to where it looked the same. I thought it was kind of weird that they came up with a whole new power set for the time hotel and a whole new design for how that power looks. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's writers crossing wires, you know, it's a Moffat idea being repackaged by RTD. So, but yeah, Anita's back. Anita's learned up. She's been on some travel. She's been on some adventures. She's learned a lot about the ways of the Doctor Who universe. So that's cool. I liked those flashbacks. I like that they weren't just archival footage. It looks like there was some new footage in there too. The Dalek in the foreground of the third Doctor. Was that Day of the Daleks? Is that what episode that's from? Correct me if I'm wrong. I couldn't place all of the cameos. I obviously there's some of them that are obvious. The Matt Smith playing the live chess. That one, I remember that one, obviously. But yeah, that was really good. I like that. I thought it was interesting. Did Anita love the Doctor? Did Anita have feelings for the Doctor? Is she jealous? Is she bitter? Later on, we find out that she's working for the boss. Is the boss just in charge of the hotel, or has Anita made a deal with the boss? I don't know, you know. And even later, the Doctor and Anita are kind of adversarial, especially when she says the thing about his kid not being real. He gets very adversarial. So I don't know. It seems like they're setting something up with Anita. Maybe she'll come back. As for the Doctor's story, you know, Anita gets him home. We're getting the rules a little bit more clearly. He now knows it's a Groundhog's Day. It's not just random that he's the day before May 24th. I was wondering why it was the day before May 24th and not May 24th. But, you know, I guess whatever. It makes sense that the Vindicator just keeps leading them back over and over and over again to May 24th. So I think that's cool. We get a little bit more rules about how the wish world works, and I vibe with that. I like the idea that it gets thinner and thinner every time. That's kind of cool. I liked the way they visualized this later with Poppy. We'll talk about it we'll talk about it when we get there. But I do like the way they visualize that idea of the universe getting thinner. But yeah, the doctor decides to come out, basically. He has like a coming out to Belinda and to Poppy and to his workplace. And I love the shot where he's just in his suit and he takes the jacket off and drops the jacket. And then it's just doctor in distress. And I love it. I fucking love it. God, I'm going to miss Ncuti so much. Anyway, I loved it. I loved that coming out scene. I loved when Kate gets adversarial with him and is like, what are you wearing? And he says, the future. I love that. I thought that was great. Yeah, it was a great way to show up as the Doctor, you know, because he doesn't have an iconic look. So taking the look he was wearing and turning it into something that is so obviously Ncuti's style, that was a great way of communicating it's the Doctor. This is no longer John Smith. This is the Doctor. I thought that was brilliant. With the whole idea of real time coming through the doorways, I kind of like this, but then I also think it was kind of silly because should they all stay on the deck? Because later they're going all throughout Unit Tower all the way down to floor -10, and there's real time down there too. You're fine because you opened the doors up top. And what about these chips in their necks, the unit people's necks? Why do those wake them up too? Maybe they go off and they lead you back to Unit Tower and you get a sniff of real time, sure, but what's with the chips? And if the chips work, then why do we need to keep the real-time doors open? Because once one person has been woken up, couldn't that one person activate everybody's chips and then everybody would be awake? You know, why do we still need the real-time corridors open? Is it just so Anita can stick around later to give her boss one-liner without placing that in the middle of the episode? I genuinely don't understand the real-time flow thing, or what causes some people to snap out of it and what causes other people not to. I was also confused, why did Ruby have the subdermal tracking chip? Because doesn't she not work for a unit? Isn't that the whole thing? She doesn't work for a unit? Isn't that how Lucky Day ended? I don't know. Maybe she did work for a unit for a blip and got it put in and then just never had it removed. I don't know. I guess there's some weird little things there, but I'm not gonna get too nitpicky about it. I just thought it was a little bit weird, the whole time air window thing to keep time flowing. It was cool visually. It was really cool when she's opening up all those doors and it makes the backdraft and people start remembering. That was really cool. I didn't think it held up throughout the episode. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But that scene with the doors all opening up and the real time coming back in is also the scene that reintroduces Rose Noble. I thought that was cool. That she was back. I was excited to see her back. I've been wanting to see her do something cool for basically since she showed up. She's not done anything worth noting other than being a part of the meta crisis. That's really all she's done, which wasn't a character choice. So I've been waiting for her to do something cool, important, significant, anything. So they brought her back, and there was that cool little line about Conrad couldn't possibly have imagined you, so you just didn't exist. That was interesting. Again, it's like the whole thing with the Camp of the Unseen, like who Conrad sees and thinks about determines the reality. And again, like, we can unpack whether or not we believe that Conrad doesn't see or think of Rose. Maybe. I don't know. That seems like a little bit of a malicious stretch. I don't know. I get it. We're just trying to say Conrad is a bad guy. He is the baddest of guys. But, like, so bad he doesn't understand what non-binary is? Like, doesn't have any concept of non-binary people. Again, here's the thing. I can believe that this person has bad beliefs. If you wanted to tell me that this guy conversion therapied everybody in his world so that biological males and biological females express the gender normative
outward expression of gender of males and females respectively, I could buy that. If you tell me that Conrad just didn't think about non-binary people in 2025, I think he thought about them. I think he did. Like, I don't know. Maybe he did something not cool. Maybe he did something that is backwards. Sure, I get that. But he didn't think about them at all. Because here's the thing. You're saying one of two things. You're either saying that, you know, it's such a niche issue, the issue of gender identity. It's so niche and so unheard of that the average person can't imagine it, you know, like that they can't possibly think about it. Like it's that Conrad is, even, you know, as a young person in 2025, he's got no concept of it because it's that unheard of. Or are you saying that Rose is still super special, awesome, excellent, different because of magical alien metacrisis reasons? Because I was pretty sure none of that applied to her anymore. I don't understand what it was about Rose that really couldn't be understood, unless they are just saying it's because she's non-binary, which again, it stretches credulity a little bit, but I like it, I guess. I like it from just like a pure storytelling perspective. I like it. Or at least I would like it if when Rose showed up, she did something, but she doesn't. So she only exists for this line to happen. And then that makes me have to nitpick the line further. Like, you really only brought her back so you could have this moment. So this moment needs to work, and I don't know. I don't think it does. The next scene is right after Conrad finds the doctor for the Rani. The Rani shows up, and we get our exposition for who the Rani is. Now, we've gotten a little bit of taste for who the Rani is, personality-wise, character-wise, and all that other stuff. But if you wanted your classic Who information about who the Rani is, Mel gives us a quick little exposition dump to say who the Rani is. Now, I do think that my complaint about the Rani is somewhat nullified. I think the way the Rani was utilized and the way the Rani was depicted does do a good job of getting the viewer cued in on their story. That's fine. I'm here for the Rani. I still think they messed up the introduction of the Rani. They should not have done that post-credit scene. Or if they were going to do that post-credit scene, they should not have done the "We Are the Rani" reveal. Because they did it again in this episode, where the doctor is like, she is the Rani. And then both the Raniers are like, we are the Rani. We bi-generated. You've had your "this is the Rani" moment 3 times. Even for 2 Ranis, that's one too many times to be introducing yourself to the audience. So, I don't know. I think she works fine as a villain for this story. I think that Anita Dobson, especially since she's the Rani who survives, works fine as Mrs. Flood, this through line, because through this season, she was just like, something's coming, something's going to happen. It's the Rani. Here she is. Don't you love her? Oh, she's gone. See you guys later. She's still out there. So she's more interesting to me now than she ever was before, including in this episode. She's finally got some sort of intrigue to me. I would actually be interested to see her back, as long as she's not back at the end of every episode of next season. I'd be happy to see her back. But yeah, I just don't think the way they introduced her was very cool. I don't know. I was thinking about this, and maybe we'll talk more about this in the future. You know, when characters are brought back in New Who, there is fanfare for the classic fans to rejoice. But the introduction for the new fans is organic and it makes sense. Think about the Cybermen. The Cybermen are name dropped at the end of the Age of Steel episode, right? It's not until the cliffhanger that the Doctor's like, they're Cybermen. But throughout the episode, we get that these are people who went under something traumatic against their will. We see the ear pods and know that people's minds can be controlled, their emotions can be suppressed. We know that this guy, created these things for the purpose of survival, for the purpose of protecting the human brain and encasing it in steel. Everything we need to know about what a Cyberman is, what they do, how they function, and why we as the audience should be scared of them, all of that is communicated before the name Cyberman is dropped. And then when Cyberman is dropped, the Cybermen walk into frame for the first time and we see them in full detail, and we're thrown back with the reveal, and it's awesome. It's huge. It's big. And if you know who the Cybermen are, you can cheer, because it's like you probably already knew halfway through this episode, or right in the beginning. As soon as they said Cybus Industries, you might have known, oh, these are Cybermen. But you hear it, you get confirmed, you get to feel cool as a fan for knowing, and then you get to see the new design, and you're like, oh yeah, crap. And as far as the new viewers, you've been waiting all episode. What are these guys? They've been in the shadow. What are we dealing with? And they come into the light for the first time, and you're like, oh, there's this cool robot. Oh, that's so awesome. And then even further, if you watched season 1 of New Who and were really paying attention to the details, you would have seen Cybermen. You would have seen them in Van Statten's museum. So you would have even known that this is a returning villain. Even that you would know. The fact that this is a classic bad guy, without having to watch any classic, you would know that. And you would have seen what they looked like in classic. Everything you need to enjoy the Cybermen was laid out for you before they showed up, but the Rani, it's just a name. They just told us a name, and I know who the Rani is. And I had some people comment on my last video who were dogging on me like, oh, get out of here, newbie. I fight for the newbies, guys. That's what I'm here for. Because I want the show to grow and keep going forever and ever and ever. And that means we need newbies. Don't tell newbies to get out of here. What's your problem? We need the newbies. Anyway, I'm not a newbie, but I do fight for the newbies, so I try to think about this in their perspective. I watch these episodes with my partner, and for what it's worth, my partner powered through all of New Who over the span of a year to get caught up for this season. And they're disappointed that all of their hard work of watching all this stuff wasn't enough. They thought they were caught up. They thought that they'd be able to watch the new episodes and get what was going on. And they still don't. They still don't. And that sucks. And I would love to show them the 3 Doctors. And I would love to show them Time in the Rani. And I would love to show them, a bunch of other stuff. But I can't. It's not on our TV. Can't do it. Love to. But I can't. So yeah, the Ranis, I do think that the Ranis were redeemed as far as characters. I think that they work. I think that they did a good job. I'm glad that they're here. I'm glad that there's only one of them. We didn't have the turncoat moment I thought we would have. I mean, Mrs. Flood does turn heel and run. She does take the Rani's time ring and get out of there, but she doesn't kill the Rani. Though there was a bad guy on bad guy thing. I said it doesn't make sense, this is a multi-level Doctor threat versus a multi-level Doctor threat. How are they going to deal with this in such a short period of time? Well, you have the one multi-Doctor threat eat the other one. That's how. I mean, that was pretty cool. Though I do have to note that this is the exact same ending as for Omega as Sutekh got. Sutekh, classic bad guy, pharaoh-looking dude with a big old helmet on. Comes back to New Who. Now he's a big CGI monster who is defeated by a simple piece of tech that was introduced early in the season. The gravity gloves, the Mavity gloves. Omega, same thing. He was a classic bad guy, Time Lord, big helmet, and he comes back as a huge CGI monstrosity that's taken out by a piece of pretty simple tech introduced early in the season, the Vindicator. I mean, that happened. It certainly happened. Look, I'm not mad about it. I'm honestly not. I said I would never forgive them if they messed up Omega. And they kind of didn't. This isn't Omega. But that's fine. That's fine. Because the last time we saw Omega, it was pretty clear that he was lost. He was lost in this world that he was never coming back from, that he was insane. And his willpower, he is a creature of will in a universe of non-existence. He wanted a body, and if he obsessed over the idea of a body for millennia as he like willed himself into being, it would make sense that he would will himself into a monstrous body. That makes sense. You know, his hate and his revenge, all of that manifesting into a need to consume the Time Lords. Yeah, I could see all of that. Do I think he was underutilized? Yes. Would I have liked to see his intelligence? Yes. Do I think that they ruined Omega? No. No, I don't think they did. I think it was a bit boring. I think it was a bit of a boring choice. And I think you could have done without him. I don't think the episode needed him. I think he worked better as a threat. My suggestion of leaving him as a threat, I think, still is the better solution rather than having him be a big CGI monster. Just be a looming threat that never actually shows up. Something for the Rani to threaten. Something that could come back later. That's how I would have preferred it. But this way, he got the Sutekh treatment. And I thought I'd be really bummed about that, but I'm just not. Maybe it's because I'm too emotionally distraught about other stuff that I can't be too bothered about Omega. Maybe we'll come back to this later and I'll feel differently. These are my reactions after all. But yeah, I'm not too upset with the way they handled Omega. It was a waste, but it wasn't the worst. I also like the way they decided to finally unpack the Time Lord genocide. The idea of a genetic explosion, I always assumed it was a big instantaneous thing. The idea that they're sterile is really interesting. We were talking the other day about Poppy and what her existence might mean, and I brought up the looms from the Cardinal Master Plan era of Doctor Who, the idea that Time Lords are grown in looms. And I think that was kind of not ever canonized. I don't think that was, I think it's in some books, but I don't know if that's actually canon that Time Lords are grown in looms. But maybe now we can move on with that, you know? I don't know. The Doctor tries to reclaim the last of the Time Lords moniker at the end of the episode, so maybe I doubt that they would do that. It's just so goofy because now he knows unequivocally he's not the last of the Time Lords. One of the Ronnies escaped. He's not the last of the Time Lords. So, I don't know. Kind of weird. But yeah, I liked that bit with the Time Lords being sterile. I think that was cool. Especially because it limits the universe. It limits the Doctor. It confuses things a little bit because we did hear that the Doctor doesn't have kids. Maybe will have kids one day. That's what he said to Ruby, right? But he said that to Ruby knowing that that wasn't true. Little confused by that. We'll unpack it more later. I'm just going to move past it because this episode's so packed and I want to make sure I get to everything. But I did notice that. Don't think I missed it. But right, they can't have babies, which is what makes Poppy so special. And there was a line there where the Rani says that Poppy, she's made of hopes and dreams and wishes. And the Doctor says that's every child. And I'm just like, oh man, these are the kinds of lines, you know? These are the kinds of lines that Ncuti delivers so well. Like, because the line itself isn't that great, but it's the sincerity with which he delivers it that it really means something. And it's not just random. It's Poppy, right? Remember Poppy from Space Babies? Remember what he says to Poppy about being special, about being you, about being happy in your body and like the specialness and of being an individual. This isn't missed on me, you know? This is important. The idea of saving one life, like Ruby talks about later, anything to save just one child. Like this is a recurring theme throughout this Disney era, and I really dig that. I really, really dig that. And the way they tie that in with the villain by making Desiderium a baby who needs to be fostered afterwards, I really dig that. I think that there's some really cool thematic work being done, and that line delivery is a culmination of that, and I think it's so beautiful. It was such a good moment. One of the best interactions of that scene, definitely. It's cool to see Unit mobilizing fully. It's cool to see Unit Tower doing its thing. I did not know it had a turntable that could turn the whole tower around like that. That was pretty sweet. Love to see the full range of their weapons. We already saw the galvanic beams, but the parallax cannons, those are pretty cool. It was cool to see some weaponry. It was cool to see the tower doing its thing. There was a part where like the tower seemed like it was falling apart from the inside, and I wasn't really sure why. no bone beast ever hit the tower, but there was like explosions and like concrete was crumbling into dust. Was it just not rated to do the turntable thing it was built to do? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was under too much stress because the cannons are only supposed to fire so many times and they fired them too many times. I don't know. It just didn't really seem to make sense why the building was falling apart. I can stretch my imagination to come up with answers, headcanon it, but yeah, it would have been nice to see like a bone beast hit something to make that make more sense. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. If I missed something and it's obvious, let me know what it was that I missed. But units also being mobilized in other ways. They're putting their science arm to use. They build the Zero Room, which was a really cool concept. It reminded me of a couple of things. It reminded me of the perfect prison in The Impossible Astronaut that Matt Smith gets locked in. It reminds me of the Pandorica box, which Matt Smith gets locked in. He gets locked in a lot of boxes. But it kind of reminded me of those things. I liked that whole arc, though. It just was kind of upsetting because it ends with Belinda going in a box. And it's like, this is Belinda's season. This is the big climactic end. And you stick her in a box? Come on. Like, she's not going to get to do anything all episode. Like, I don't know. She has some stuff to do at the end of the episode. Don't get me wrong. There's some heavy acting on Vera DeSethu's part. There's a lot of really important and poignant scenes with her in them. And she's carrying a lot of the emotional weight of a lot of scenes. But if you think about what she does as a companion in this episode, it is nothing. It is nothing. She does nothing in this episode. It's really, really unfortunate. She goes and she sits in a box, and then she comes out of the box and has some conversations. That's what Belinda does this episode. So, yeah, no points for that. But the Zero Room was cool in concept, I suppose. There was a couple of cool things in that scene too. Ruby's the one who actually gets to do something. She's the companion to this episode. Last episode, she was the companion. She was the one unraveling the mystery and going to deal with the homeless camp of the unseen. She's the one doing all this stuff. She's the one who addresses the doctor and tries to break him out of his reality. She's now the one who goes and fights Conrad. She's the one who gets Desiderium. If this is Wish World, she's the one who secures the wish. She's the companion of this episode. Belinda's not doing anything. Ruby also, hey, here's a connection. Ruby also uses the Indigo device, which I assume, because she's teleporting around, is an evolution on Project Indigo, which Martha Jones used in the other RTD companion mashup episode, The End of Time, A Journey's End, rather. In Journey's End, the Indigo device is what Martha Jones uses to teleport to Germany, and I'm pretty sure that's this looks like an upgraded version of that. You know, it's a little less randomized, and it has a little bit more short-range control. It's clearly a better version of what they had before. So that was really cool. It was cool to see that. And the confrontation between Ruby and Conrad was also pretty good. I didn't dislike it. I was upset that it was her and not Belinda doing stuff in the episode. But ultimately it was a good episode. It was a good confrontation. I didn't mind it. I like Ruby now. Honestly, I like Ruby now more than I did at the end of season 1. This season has done a lot to improve my view of Ruby. I was really ready for her to be the next companion again. And, well, you know, maybe it's best that they find somebody new. Who knows who the next companion will be. But I really love Ruby. I think that she's really come into her own, especially in this episode. And it's not just that she gets the wish. She also secures Poppy and secures reality. This is the reality war, and she's the one still fighting for reality after everyone else is ready to call it a day. So she is the main character of this episode in so many ways. And I got so much love and respect for her. Millie Gibbs. Millie Gibbs is a real one. Throw it out to her. She kicked ass this series. This Disney era. She is one of the great redeeming qualities of this era. I can't wait to go back to season 1 and rewatch some Ruby episodes because I've got a new love for her. I was kind of annoyed by her the first time around, but I've got a new love for her, and I'm looking forward to going back and rewatching some of her episodes. But, you know, for all the love Ruby gets in this episode, she also gets kind of ignored. When the doctor finds his TARDIS, he runs into the TARDIS, and Ruby's in there with the dream baby. The doctor says nothing. Doesn't even say hi. Doesn't even acknowledge her. Just runs past her. And then when she's fighting for reality to be like, hey, Doc, What about your kid? What about the stuff that's still not right? He's kind of like, Ruby, you're kind of going crazy. I know he's not actually gaslighting her because he doesn't know the truth, but it feels like he's gaslighting her. And there's a very adversarial relationship with Belinda too, who's all like, "Oh, I'm offended you would even say that." Like, there's a lot of stuff going on there where Ruby's kind of alienated. She's still kind of alienated. And if you think about where her story ends, she convinces the doctor to go find Poppy and then runs off. And she never sees him again. She never sees him again. The last thing she does is tell him to go find his daughter. He goes, he finds her, but since Ruby can remember, if she ever meets Belinda, she'll be like, "Oh gosh, there you are, and there's Poppy. How is the doctor?" Why should I know? Oh, because he's Poppy's dad? No, he's not. So you're saying that she's going to know that things weren't right. She's going to know. She's going to be the only one who knows the sacrifice the doctor made. And you're not going to let them meet up one more time? Come on, let them meet one more time so she can know what happened. Don't do this. Don't do this to me. Come on. I don't know. She deserves to know what happened to the doctor. She deserves to have some kind of closure. She gets no closure. What? She gets a brother? She gets a Desiderium brother? I don't know. I was saying before about how last time RTD did this, he left some of his companions in undignified places. I think he did it again. This is an undignified place to leave Ruby. She fought for reality, and she doesn't get to know whether or not she was successful. She doesn't get to say goodbye to the doctor. The last time she sees the doctor, he was being adversarial and downright, dismissive of her, and she had to twist his arm to get him to act. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't say goodbye. He just runs off and never sees her again, and she'll never see that face again. How sad is that? That's so upsetting. And then Belinda, too. Belinda, sure, she's home, and she's home with a kid that didn't exist at the beginning of the series. This is a generated kid. That kid was not there in the first episode. And this, I don't know, this life, it's not the life she had. She did lose her life. Whatever her life was, that single living in the city, in the flat with her job and all that, maybe it wasn't satisfying. We'll never know because we got no feeling for Belinda's home life ever. Maybe that's why they never showed us her home life, because they didn't want us to feel the tragedy of her losing her chosen life in order to get this Poppy life. But man, maybe show us that her life sucked, Maybe show us that she was lonely. Maybe show us something so that we're happy that she's with Poppy as a single mom. If I went on a trip with you and brought you home and you came back as a single mom, I wouldn't say that I took you on a good trip, I don't know. It seems like a pretty bad trip if that's how it shakes out. And I know she loves Poppy. We all love Poppy. I got you on that. I'm not saying Poppy shouldn't exist. I'm saying that you left this companion in a weird place, a very weird place that I don't think is a very dignified way to end her story. And she even felt it. She was like, "Wait a second, what's wrong? I'm forgetting something." And the doctor doesn't even tell her what she's forgetting. Just says, "Yeah, that happens sometimes. Peace out. I'll never see you again with this face." I don't know. It felt about as opposite as you can get from the 10th Doctor's leaving, saying goodbye to everybody. But I did love the scene where Belinda and the doctor and Ruby are talking about the baby and about the change in reality, where Ruby is fighting to change reality. We talked about this earlier, about there's a great visualization in this scene of the flattening of the dimensions when the doctor and Belinda hand back and forth Poppy's jacket, and they keep doing another fold until it shouldn't be able to fold anymore, and they keep folding it. And we see it transforms from a jacket into some sort of larger piece of fabric until it eventually becomes a smaller and smaller piece of fabric. And then it's just like a little hanky, almost nothing at all. And it flattens out. And And I talked about this in a previous USA about what it looks like when the modern world changes, when the modern present changes around them. We don't see that much in Doctor Who, but it was really cool to see that with Ruby, for Ruby to be able to see the timeline changing as it's changing. That was so cool. I really appreciated that. I said I wanted to see that, and I've gotten to see that now. So wish list checked off. That was a really cool scene. I really dig it. Of course, like I said, there was such a hard scene to watch because everyone's being so mean to Ruby. But it was a really cool scene, and I really appreciated that. Also, Ruby doesn't know why she can see things. And this is a really cool effect, as nobody remembers 73 yards, including the Doctor. So when she asks the Doctor, why can I see things and you can't? The Doctor doesn't give an answer. This is an answer that we as the audience are the only ones capable of deciphering. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. That's what I like to see, right? Rather than mysteries that only the characters in the show can follow and we just have to be like, oh, okay, I guess that's the answer. Instead, it's a mystery that people in the show can't solve, and we're on the couch going, aha, I know why. So much cooler. Thank you, RTD. Those are the kinds of mysteries we like. Give us more of those. Thank you. So cool. So cool. But yeah, I like that whole aspect of Ruby, seeing through the changes and them slowly forgetting, the cot slowly disappearing. All of that was really cool. Very tragic. The look on Ruby's face as the Doctor is moving on and talking about the next thing and dealing with the star certificate. And she's just still like in tears, like befuddled, and the other two are just moved on. That was so good. I really loved the tragedy of that scene. And during that scene, it becomes very clear that Belinda's trip is over. And it becomes clear because they're talking about how excited they are for the next place they're going to see. And what does Belinda say? She says, take me to the stars. Yeah. Well, now you know your journey's over, isn't it? Because just as we learned at the beginning of the season, if you ask the Doctor to take you to the stars, your time with the Doctor is over. So I thought that was a really good bookend for her, that little throw-in line. That was really good. But yeah, that whole scene leads to the Doctor's death, though. All of it. All leads to the Doctor's death, because the Doctor would have left. It would have been mission over. It would have been fine. But Ruby convinces him to save Poppy. And so he gives his life for Poppy's life. So that is the only reason the Doctor died, is because Ruby remembered. If Ruby hadn't remembered, we would have had another season of Ncuti and Belinda. And, of course, it's not just Ruby. Everyone comes around to convince him. They all start sharing their stories. Belinda shares her story. Susan shares her story. And then Susan Twist. I don't know what her actual name is, her character's name. But they all sharing their story. There's this really bad line, though, where Kate's like, sometimes I think we're all your children. And then Murray Gold hits it with this big dramatic music. Get the hell out of here. That scene was really working until that bit. Like, I don't know. That was unnecessary. There was that great line in there. The most tragic line in that whole scene was when they're seeing Conrad, and Ruby says, there was only one wish, and it had to be him and not Poppy. Like, that was sad. That was really sad. But let's move on from here and talk about the big things that you want to talk about. I know there are big things to talk about, so let's talk about them. The TARDIS scene where he goes to pump the energy into the TARDIS. Really cool. The revelation that he's going to die, it creeps up. We know it's happening. He knows it's happening. And we get the Doctor montage face thing, which sometimes feels a little overplayed. And it kind of felt overplayed here at first. If JODIE hadn't showed up. Oh my God, guys. I was so excited when JODIE showed up. I jumped up. I jumped up out of the couch. I was so excited. I love JODIE. I love JODIE so much. People know by this point, I hope, that I am a JODIE fanatic. I'm a JODIE defender. She is one of my tops. She's absolutely one of my tops. Don't love Chris Chibnall, but, doctors aren't their writers. Doctors are their performers. And JODIE is one of my tops. So it was great to see her again. I said that there were things about this episode that might redeem previous episodes. I did not think there'd be things about this episode that would redeem Chibnall episodes. In the episode in Flux, where the Doctor and Yaz finally have their conversation about their feelings, I always felt that the Doctor was cagey and dismissive and, was just saying platitudes to make Yaz feel better. And I hated that scene. And I hated what they did with the Yasmin arc. If you've watched my Who essay about queer representation in Doctor Who, you'll know how I feel about this scene. But this improved it. That line where he says where Ncuti says to JODIE, "I love you," and she says, "I don't say things like that." And he's like, "I know. That's why you need me." And she says, "I should say that to Yaz." Oh. You should say that to Yaz, but as the Doctor rightly points out, you never do. I can care about Thasmin now. I can, because it really is, it puts into context, like even those other scenes where Graham tells the Doctor he's scared of his cancer coming back, and she's like, "I don't know how to talk about that." This really is just an emotionally stunted version of the Doctor who doesn't know how to talk about feelings. And I can understand that now. And I can come back to JODIE and enjoy those stories a little bit better, knowing that, she just doesn't know how to say it. She really doesn't. And I don't know why younger versions of her can say things like that, but she can't. Maybe it's just timey-wimey. Is that still a thing? But that was a great scene. I loved seeing JODIE back. That was wonderful. I loved the scene in the house with Poppy and the Doctor. Oh, I'm going to make myself so sad. The line that if I could have had a daughter, I wish she would be exactly like you, but I made all the wishes go away. That was so sad because it was the recognition that somewhere deep down, the Doctor wants a child, and he wants a child just like Poppy, and he wished her into existence, and then he died to keep her around, and he doesn't get to have her. Oh, I'm going to make myself sad again. It's so depressing. It's so depressing. He died so he could save Poppy, but he doesn't save her for himself. He saves her, and once he knows that she's safe and cared for and loved, that's enough for him, even though he doesn't get to be happy, even though he doesn't get to have a daughter, even though he doesn't get to bring back the Time Lords and have a Time Lord daughter to then go off and have his grandkids and everything else later. Even though none of that gets to happen, he sacrifices his life so that she can be there. And oh man, it's so hard. That's so hard. I really feel that, especially as a foundling being a running theme of this season. The idea that he's just happy that baby's got a home, and could he shift the universe 1 degree over to try again? Yeah, he could give up his next life, but he's happy for Poppy. And oh man, that scene is so effective. That scene is so effective. And that brings us to the end of the episode. I'm not going to talk about the Joy Star. That took me out of it for a second. When he said, I don't want to do this alone, I was really hoping he'd go see Ruby and they would say goodbye to each other. But I'm not going to talk about how upset I am that didn't happen, or how upset I am that I had to see the Joy Star again, because I'm just too heartbroken over Ncuti. His leaving was so sad, and he went out with joy in his heart, and I'm so happy for him with that. And that's what JODIE told him to do, go out with that smile, and he did. He went out with that big smile, and I think that makes it harder. Because when David Tennant said, "I don't want to go," I didn't want him to go either, so it was hard for him to go, but I knew we were the same. Watching Ncuti go with a smile and embracing it, he was ready and I wasn't. He was so ready and I wasn't. It was hard to watch him go. I loved the look of his regeneration. It was so powerful. Such a powerful regeneration. And, oh my God, turning into Billie Piper. Yes. I'm so glad I have something to be happy about, because it is hard for me to think about Ncuti leaving. I'm cracking up right now, like not laughing. My voice is cracking because I'm trying not to get sad about Ncuti leaving. And all I can do is think about Billie Piper to try to soothe that, like put a balm over that. Because this is so cool. Let's talk about why this is so cool, okay? What's cool? Billie Piper's the first one to make the jump from companion to doctor. Let's go, Billie. Billie earned this. Billie fucking earned this. She came back for the 50th. She came back for the big reunion of all the companions at the end of season 4. Yeah, sure, she's been around. She's come back. She's done her time. But it's not just that. She is the reason the show survived. Chris Eccleston was supposed to stick around. He was supposed to have some companions, plural, but he left. And the show needed some constant through line. And it became Billie's character, Rose. Right? So she was the audience surrogate, and she was what kept the audience locked in from that first Doctor to that surprise second Doctor, that 9th Doctor, and that surprise 10th Doctor. She has earned this. And she's been so kind and loving to the fans over the years. For those of you not involved in like Doctor Who fandom, Billie is the realist. She does the conventions. She talks to fans. She's always so lovely. She's always so kind. Like she is the realist. She could be a diva about it, but she's not. She could distance herself from it and move on and, whatever else. She hasn't. She loves the show. She loves the fans. She's been here with us. She's come back every chance she's gotten. She's done audio dramas for us. She's done everything you can do to support the fans. She's done it all the way. She deserves this. She deserves it. She's ready for this. She is beyond ready for this, and we are ready for her. But let's talk about why it's also cool from a story perspective. What caused the Doctor to die? The Doctor poured his regeneration energy into the TARDIS. He created a circuit with the TARDIS in which they were linked, in which his power directed the TARDIS. And the TARDIS in turn redirected right at him, and it took his life. This is significant because the TARDIS is not an object. The TARDIS is a living thing. And the last time somebody interfaced with the spirit of the TARDIS in a very significant way, it was Rose. She opened up the heart of the TARDIS and looked into it, and they became one. They became the Bad Wolf, the time vortex in human form. And that form was so powerful that other sentient powers have sought out that structure, that Bad Wolf structure. The moment the greatest super weapon in the Whoniverse chooses to masquerade as the Bad Wolf, it makes sense that on connecting this binary power of Time Lord energy and the TARDIS and forcing that into a regeneration, that it would create the most recognizable manifestation of the TARDIS turned flesh. You could say it was the Doctor's wife, that episode, but that was not really. That was something else. I don't know. I don't want to talk about those Gaiman episodes anymore. They're good episodes, but Gaiman, Anyway, not the point. The point is it makes sense that it would be her, that she would come back. Also, it makes sense because Ncuti has gone through growth. He was that growth doctor. He was that therapy doctor. He was that doctor who was learning to get through his emotional baggage. It makes sense now that he's happy. He's gone with peace. He left with joy. He's the best version of himself. It makes sense he would want to reflect that in his next version with the best version of humanity that he knows, which is Rose. I love it. I love it. And I love all the things that could happen now. Have you guys thought about all the things that could happen now? Have we thought about what a David Tennant Doctor and a Billie Piper Doctor would do in the same room? Because it's possible we could have that. 14 and 16 could link up? Like, what would that be like? 14 and 16 could link up and go against Rose and Metacrisis. What would that look like? You know? 16 could make Yasmin Finney's character her companion, and then it would be an actor who played Rose playing the Doctor with a companion playing Rose. I don't know. There's so many cool things that could happen. So I am so excited about Billie. I'm so happy about it. But let me tell you something. As much as I hate the breaks between seasons, as much as I hate having to wait years to see another episode, I am kind of glad that there's some time off, because I need time to revisit. I need time to mourn. I need time to let go of Ncuti, because I am excited to see Billie. I am excited for this regeneration and everything it can mean. I'm not ready to watch her episodes. You know, I'm not ready yet. I want to be there with her when she starts. I want to be 100% on board. I want to be punching the air. I'm not there right now. I know I kind of have that energy in my voice right now thinking about it. But there's still too much of me that is clinging on to Ncuti. But I am excited about this regeneration. I think it's so cool. And here's the thing. I said, give us a golden parachute. I said, give us a golden parachute in case the show doesn't come back. You can't ask for a better golden parachute than this. Okay? The gods have been resolved. How well, we'll talk about in the wrap up. But the gods have been resolved. The companions are all home. Everyone's got their lives. They are all settled. Most of the through lines have been addressed. All the ones that haven't are relatively minor, or, you know, we'll talk about Rogue. We'll talk about Susan. They didn't get resolved. I don't want to talk about them here. We'll talk about them in the wrap up. There's some things that are still left hanging, but all in all, it is a pretty clean break, because Ncuti regenerated in space. And he was smart enough to go out the door and send his regeneration energy out into the universe rather than blowing up his TARDIS. So, Billie is intact in her body, in her TARDIS, in an intact TARDIS, with a wardrobe full of clothes and access to any sonic screwdriver she needs or any other tech she needs. She could show up the way the Ninth Doctor showed up. We don't have to have a foggy-brained regeneration story. We don't have to have a companion is confused, who is this person story. We could start a new era. We could do it. We could jumpstart into a brand new, fresh start where anyone could jump on. We could do it. This is a golden parachute moment. And let's say 15 years go by with no Doctor Who. It's not a random number. That was the wilderness years. Let's say that happens and Billie ain't around to do it. Either she doesn't want to do it, or she's moved on, or God forbid, but whatever. Let's say 15 years go by, no new Doctor Who, and we don't get Billie Who. Then Rose Doctor will be our wilderness doctor. What a great wilderness doctor. What a wonderful wilderness doctor to have. Somebody who we know will come back and do audios because she's done it before. Somebody who is recognizable, someone who the fandom loves, someone who we can project so much onto, who the writers have so much to work with, and who is boundless. And then when the show comes back, it could be anybody. You know, this is the golden parachute that I asked for. I don't think it's the version of the golden parachute that I asked for. I think it's better. I think this is a better endpoint than I could have imagined, and that's great. I'm really happy for that. But when all is said and done, there is too much to talk about in this episode. This episode, it's already too long. It's already too long. And we will be back to talk about this, because we're going to do the Ncuti series wrap up, and we're going to talk about all of this and more detail. I don't know how that video is going to be formatted. I plan to do it next week, but that was when it was going to be a season wrap up. I may do a different video this week and come back to the Ncuti wrap up, because I want to give it time. It's going to be how I mourn. It's going to be how I process my feelings. So if it's a little bit late, that's why, because I want to give Ncuti the respect that his era deserves. And I'll probably go back and rewatch some episodes before I do it. So I may do the retrospective a little bit later. I said I was going to do it next week. Might be a little bit later. But yeah, oh, guys, there's just so much to talk about. Please jump in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. What do you think about the episode? How did it resolve? Do you think it resolved the previous episode well? Do you think it resolved the season and the Disney era well? Do we think the Disney era will continue? I mean, look, the hype off of this Billie Piper reveal, that should be enough to give Disney faith that this thing is worth investing in. But who knows? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. But what do you think? I want to know what you think. You'll probably know better than I will. Do you think that Disney will pick back up, or do we have to start over again somewhere else? I don't know. Are you excited for Billie? How do you feel about Ncuti? How do you feel about JODIE? So much happened in this episode. There's too much to talk about. I can't say it all. I need you all to pitch in here. Jump down in the comments. Let me know what you thought. I'll be back later in the week for another episode, but there won't be any Reaction Jackson next week. So this has been fun. This has been a fun little season. I don't know if I'll keep doing Reaction Jackson for other stuff. There's some things that I'd like to watch, that I'd like to do reactions for. But I have to be committed to it. So I don't know. We'll probably take a break from Reaction Jackson for a while, and I'm going to focus in on doing my Who essays, put a lot more effort into those instead of splitting my effort across multiple videos in a week. So that's coming. Look forward to that. And here's the thing. I don't know how long this break is going to be, but I'll be here with you. I'll tell you that. I don't know how long Doctor Who will be away, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to be rewatching it. I'm going to be talking about old episodes. I'm going to be talking about the future. I'm going to be talking about expanded material. And here's the deal. If you are somebody who is not totally immersed in Doctor Who, who's for whatever reason you started on season 1, you watched through season 2, and you're the person that I've been talking to this whole time, right? Because my avatar are the people who are jumping into this as season 1 and watching the Disney era. That is who my target audience is. I am here for all kinds of Whovians. I'm here for all kinds of chats. But realistically, that's who I represent. I represent people who are coming into this and don't know what the heck this is. That's who I'm here for. And if you are one of those people, this is our time. Catch up. You got a couple of years probably. Let's catch up. And you need someone to help catch you up? I'm right here. We're going to do some watch along stuff. We're going to do some best parts stuff. I'm going to make watch lists. If you want to watch to catch up but don't want to watch a couple hundred episodes, you want to watch just 30 or 40, I'll make you that. I'm going to make you that list. I'm already making it for my buddy. So I figured I'll make a video about it. This is going to be a very active channel, even as we enter this little break period. You'll see some channels take a break from Doctor Who material because Doctor Who is gone and the algorithm doesn't reward it. I don't give a shit about the algorithm. Okay, guys, I have less than 30 followers. You know, I do not care about the algorithm. I have a full-time job, okay? I don't care. I'm going to keep making Doctor Who content. So please stick around. Come back. I've got plenty of stuff coming around the corner. We're going to be talking about Ncuti. We're going to be talking about Billie. We're going to be talking about JODIE. We're going to be talking about past seasons and future seasons. We're going to be talking about this season and last season. We're going to be talking about everything and anything you can possibly imagine in all time and space. And I would love it if you could join us over there. If you've just been watching these Reaction Jackson videos and you haven't seen any of my Who essays from the USA, now's the time. I'm not going to be having more reactions for a while, so come on over. Watch the Who essays, stick around. I'll have some more coming just for you in the coming weeks, and I can't wait to share them with you. In the meantime, I'm signing off. Love you guys. Send out your love for Ncuti and our thanks for Ncuti for giving us an amazing 2 seasons. Thank you all for giving me an amazing first season of Reaction Jackson, and I'll see you next time.